Hello, everyone, and thanks for giving us your time today for tuning into the VR Gamescast. I'm Don Hopper, and Ian Hamilton, my co-host, is traveling to MetaConnect right now. So I'm going to be doing the show live in the studio solo today for you. And thankfully, I will have our amazing producer Beck in my ear to keep us on track and help me move the show along. So I think we're just going to jump right into it this week. And since it's just me today, I think I'm going to give a brief rundown of each topic and then we can have a discussion about it before moving on. So, with MetaConnect looming, it's been a pretty light week in VR gaming news, but there were three or four stories that we had on the site that I did want to go over. So I think we'll start off this week by talking about Subside's full release on Steam. Now, I recently dropped some deeper thoughts on this one and some impressions over on our site. And if you haven't had a chance to check that out and read it yet, make sure to head over to uploadvr.com after the show and give it a look. But either way, I got to say, this game looks amazing. I mean, it's been a long time since I have played a game that really pushes the boundaries of graphical fidelity in VR. And man, let me tell you, Subside definitely does this. I mean, this game has some of the most realistic underwater graphics that I've ever seen in VR. And combine that with the excellent swimming physics, and well, you've got a game that can easily bring a sense of presence. Now, I think one thing that really helped to drive all of that home is the fact that the game is based around exploration and there's so much to find on the ocean floor. And then, well, there's the models of the marine life, which look completely realistic. And, well, there's times that I was mesmerized and just kind of had to sit there and just soak it all in. And then there was times that I was terrified, like when I was in the night mode, and that rarely happens to me in VR games, but there was this one point, okay? So I was like in the deep water, I was playing in the night mode, and I had unlocked that. And well, all you have in the night mode is you have the cone of your flashlight. And I don't know if you've ever dove underwater in the dark, but I mean, it's already terrifying. But being deeply submerged in that mostly dark environment and surrounded by all the muted, eerie sounds, it kind of got me into a panic state a couple of times. And that, coupled with the fact that I'm just free diving in the game and you can kind of hear your heart rate start to pound as you need to ascend for more air, it kind of got me there. So it all came together and made me feel like I was really there for a minute. So if you have a PC that can run this, I do highly recommend this game. The specs are not super heavy. I mean, a decent mid-range rig should be able to pull the game off nicely. I played it on a 13900K, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 4090. And even for me, there were still some times that the game would hitch up. Even so, your your performance may vary on this one, but it does look freaking amazing and even compressed. I mean, even like using virtual desktop or link, I mean, even the compressed signal coming across that looked fantastic. But I wanted to see what it was going to look like uncompressed. So I went ahead and for the first time in a while, I pulled out my Pimax Crystal. And that headset, we can get into that here and there, but it still got one of the best looking displays that I've ever seen. And since it's pure DisplayPort, it ran good, it looked good. I mean, it was just freaking phenomenal. So, um,
Yeah, we have a couple comments here. Hi, everyone.
so
First time on the
hey, and we
show.
got Beck here today, first time on the show. She's going to be taking your comments today.
Fast Lawyer said it was really good, but they would have preferred to have more diving map locations, photo taking
Okay.
objectives.
Yeah,
They would have been
I could
cool.
see that. Photo taking objectives would be really cool. I would love to see them add some sort of photography element into the game. And more areas to explore would definitely be nice. Now, I haven't been in touch with the developers to get any sort of a future path on this, but I would really hope to see them actually adding more to the game. I haven't played it to the point where I got to unlock the shark cage and the diving. It looks like there's like 3 or 4 different experiences in each one of those as well. So, it's definitely going to, be something that I want to see grow because just diving in there has been, like I said, relaxing and terrifying and beautiful. So I also see Fast Lawyer saying if you didn't like Kayak VR, you're not going to enjoy Subside. And I think I get what he's saying there is that it is just kind of a simulation, maybe. I mean, you're just experiencing it. You're kind of just in it. I enjoy it for the beautiful graphics. I mean, I am a graphics guy. I love going into anything that is really pushing those pixels. And this one in a good VR headset is like some of the just most amazing looking graphics that I've seen yet underwater. So let's see here, looking through here, got Daniel Leeper. Yeah, he's agreeing. He says these things are cool for a short time, kind of feel like tech demos, the swing pool thing. What the hell is the point to that? And so, okay, I kind of brought that up on the show where we talked about pools. I also am not the type of gamer who really enjoys the drop me in and just give me no purpose, no story, no anything. Now, with Subside, at least there is that exploration element that I am looking for, collecting things, so we have that going on in the game. So it's not just a walking sim, just, go in and enjoy the beautiful graphics, so to speak. But without that, I can agree. I do personally, I look for story. I look for, things of that nature in the games, something to really keep me going. So I guess, and guys, this is probably going to be a sort of a shorter show without Ian today, and the light topics. We got a lot of news breaking on the site, but I was looking back here. Um, Daniel Lieber, I wouldn't mind, but a swimming baths isn't an exciting environment. So, yeah, I guess just flopping around in swimming pools may not be for everybody, but yeah.
For
Matt,
the people who
yes,
don't, have a bath at their house, that's probably why it's very exciting.
that is true. That is true.
Some of
Some
us
of
are
us only have
apartment
showers.
people, only have showers, it's terrible.
So Matt's asking here, I just got a 4090. Will this take advantage of my new GPU? I am also running a 4090 and it will definitely push some pixels on it. It's definitely going to give you the best experience in a game like this. Now, even with my 4090, as I mentioned in the article, there were still a couple of highly populated areas that maybe still need a tad more optimization in the game where I did see some frame drops. So again, it's not perfect, but it is quite possibly one of the most realistic diving sims that I've seen in VR yet. So let's see here. Bag, we got any other interesting questions before we move on to the next topic?
I think we're good to move on.
Okay, so all right, so I think moving on, I think I want to take a minute to talk about a game that's coming out next week from our good friends over at Creature called Starship Home. Now, you guys know I have been all about the mixed reality stuff lately. It's a fresh, it's an engaging medium that we're just starting to see developers get their footing in, and it's just an exciting time. I really enjoy tech demos. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, we don't want tech demos." I like tech demos. I think it helps to see how this ecosystem is going to grow over the next couple of years by getting in on the ground floor. But just like we did with, like say Oculus Share back in the old DK1 days. So Starship Home, I can't really say a bunch about it right now. We will have a full review of this game coming out on the site this Thursday once the embargo drops. So be on the lookout for that. But until then, what I can say is one thing I found interesting is that Creature is describing this as a full game in mixed reality. So they're kind of billing it as the first full game that we're going to see on the Quest 3 in mixed reality. And, you know, that brings up a good question for me though, is what constitutes a full game in MR? I mean, is it the length? Is it the depth of content? Is it how the experience uses your play space, or is it just a combination of all of these things? So I recently reviewed, you guys may remember, it was one of my actual first real reviews here on Upload after joining a game called Infinite Insight from Maze Theory. And, now that one was half mixed reality, half virtual reality. So does that still count as a full mixed reality title? Because it's a fully realized game from beginning to end. It's got a story, it's got an endpoint. So I don't know. I'm kind of struggling right now to categorize what we could consider to be a full game. Because I mean, I know most mixed reality titles that we're seeing released right now are either short tech demos or arcade style experiences that are pretty much rinse and repeat. And I really, really wish I could tell you guys more about Starship Home because it is and it isn't. But definitely, again, be on the lookout for those impressions on Upload VR this Thursday. And, then Ian and I will most likely have a much larger discussion next week on the show. So,
We have
um,
another comment from Daniel Leeper,
hey,
um,
Daniel.
who's saying that they've been waiting a year for Meta to start using pass through, but finally now the Q3S is here. We're probably going to get some more.
I think so. And that's big exciting news. I mean, we are on the cusp of that announcement, or well, what we hope is the cusp of that announcement. Ian's out there right now, just chomping at the bit, trying to get all get the details for everybody. So definitely keep your eyes peeled to Upload over the next few days. It is going to be a wild ride as we have all of this amazing information coming in from Connect. So let's
Oh,
see
one more
here.
thing here. Fast Lawyer wanted to know, was that the next DLC for Subside?
Well, it wasn't necessarily the next DLC. It Subside was in a demo phase, so this is actually the full release of Subside.
Oh, maybe? Yeah. Okay. Cool, cool, cool.
Mhm. Yeah, so let's see here. I think Biggs is saying, I love the medium of MR, but the camera pass-through grain needs a generation, in my opinion. And I gotta agree. I really think that when MR is gonna pop is when people can see it with that same clarity that you would see in just about any other camera. I mean, the graininess of the pass through is something that I wouldn't say holds MR back at this point, but it's definitely when I demo it to people, that is one of the first things that they mention is like, wow, why does the world look so grainy? These objects that are you're placing in it look super crystal clear, but everything else behind it still has that blur and that twinge. We're getting there. I mean, if you look at it, look at how much the pass through has improved just from the first time we saw color pass through from Meta on the Quest Pro to now with the Quest 3. And we haven't even seen what it's going to be on the Quest 3S. Now, with Fresnel lenses, I don't know. I really hope that they do up it because then that's going to detract from it a little bit. But that's more of a discussion that David and Ian can have over on download. So since we do try to stick to the gaming here. So, 47 meters. Oh, Fast Lawyer is referring, I was referring to 47 meters being the next DLC. Okay, I'll have to look into that. I'm not familiar with that, Fast
Oh, it
Lawyer.
was a joke. It was just me making a weird
Oh,
joke and then not
sorry,
remembering it.
I wasn't paying attention to chat. So,
Yeah. It
yeah,
was my
sorry about
fault.
that. So, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm very, very interested to see where this whole mixed reality landscape starts to go. I mean, as we do start to get these larger, more fully realized experiences in MR, I think that's when it's going to start opening up to a lot of other people. And I don't know. I think for me, okay, like, some people have asked me in the past what I consider a full game. And I think some people are starting to kind of hit on that in the chat. And One of them is right here. Let's see, Classy Grandma, a full MR game. A game has a starting point and an end point, and all kinds of stuff to do in the middle. And I gotta agree with that. That's where I think you have to draw the line between a tech demo and a full experience, whether it be short, whether it be long. If it has a definitive start, a definitive end, and it gives me some tasks to do in the middle, I consider that to be a full game. So excellent comment there. Let's see. Simon says VR. My room scans tend to drift from time to time. I'm much more fond of games that require a simpler setup, like just walls, um, like the Light Brigade as an example. So that is a great example, and I get what you're saying there. And with all of this camera vision going on, I mean, and especially now with the room scan trying to pick out the individual objects, it's I recently had to rescan my room, and I hadn't had to do that in a while. Well, I was really amazed at the room scan accuracy first and foremost, but the fact that it was now picking up all of those things that I used to have to outline myself, all the doors, the windows, cabinets, tables. It even got my couch correct for the first time ever. But I do get that drift. So I get what you're saying. It does tend to jump, or it has little micro jumps from time to time. I think the biggest thing that I'm noticing, and I don't know if this is part of V69 or not, but I've noticed that my floor level seems to kind of get off just a hair, not much. It's just a hair, and it seems to happen as I'm moving around in my space. So if that MR keeps me in one single room, it seems to be fine. If I start to walk from, say, my living room to my dining room, which I do have mapped as one large space since there's some interesting architecture in my house, that's when I start to see the difference. So I don't know if that's something with their tracking systems not working together with the camera systems, but it definitely seems to happen as I move around. So,
Dawn,
um,
we have someone asking, are we able to say what Starship Home is besides a full MR game? Is it a mini game collection? Are we allowed
um,
to give any context there?
I can't give any impressions, but I mean, obviously, you can tell from the trailers that are out there. It is going to be a narrative adventure. I will say that you're going to have some narrative here. There's going to be some story. I really, for sake of not skirting embargoes, which we really take very seriously here at Upload. I don't want to say too much about it. Just come back a couple of days, guys. Just come back, read my full review. We will have video as well, and then of course we will have a larger discussion next week on VR Gamescast with Ian when he gets back from Connect. Let's see here. Nope, no leaks, Daniel. I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent. So let's see here. They told us it would be better and remember more than one space about 6 months ago. This is also from Daniel Leeper. It still can't remember one room half the time, never mind more than one room. And I get that. Yeah, it's definitely something that we're seeing a lot of these. Well, it's supposed to do this and it's not doing it correctly. It's still early days. I'm not trying to make excuses for Meta in any way. I just being in the game as long as I have, it takes time to get all of this stuff right. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe by V70, maybe by Quest 3S launch, we will start seeing some more solid room mapping, and the ability to go from space to space. Now, one thing I guess I can say this about Starship Home. I I don't see this in a lot of titles, and I really hope this isn't breaking anything, but it is one of the titles that allows you to not have a boundary on in MR, which was huge, by the way, when they finally released the ability for me to have boundaries in MR. I don't need them. Why did I ever have to have them? So thank God for that. Um, let's see here, Beck. Anything else that we're seeing in here that looks interesting today?
Arlen of Arc Reactors talking about tech demos and how they're useful.
Okay,
Like
I
tech.
see that. I see that comments. Yeah, so tech demos I
Mhm.
think are great for entry to XR. A full game is more often too much for bringing a person in MR and especially into full VR. So personally, I think we need more tech demos. And okay, that's a great statement, Arlen. I couldn't agree with you more because when you're onboarding somebody to virtual or mixed reality, w- dropping them into something like, let's say, virtual reality, dropping them in a half like Alex right off the bat is probably not the best idea. One of the things that I always used to use back in the day, in the early days, was movie theaters. So anytime I could put a newcomer into a movie theater environment, I would drop them into that because it does two things. It allows their brain to go, wait, this is a real world space that I've been in. And most everybody's been in a movie theater. So it's the first thing that you can really easily equate to, wow, okay, I'm in this virtual space, but it's somewhere that I've been before. So just not giving them anything with too much interaction would be the second thing. I mean, a lot of times when people are new to MRXR, just give them something very passive where they can just gently look around and kind of soak it up and really start to kind of feel the presence of VR and the power of VR or MR, so to speak. So very good comment there. Let's see
We have,
here.
classy grandmas wondering if you wanna make any guesses as to what's gonna happen at MetaConnect.
Well, I would love to make a lot of guesses. My biggest guess is that we will most likely find out more details about Quest 3S. I'm going to leave that one for David and Ian on Thursday for download, where they talk about a lot more of the hardware stuff. There are some pretty cool games that I think might be coming out, but we will talk about those a little bit more next Tuesday once they have all been officially released and talked about.
Simon
So
Says and, All Becomes Iron are talking about MR games. You might wanna look at those comments.
let's see where are you at. Simon says you talk about the
Trackcraft.
Trackcraft. Yeah, Trackcraft. Yeah, has probably been the most enjoyable MR game, and I gotta say I love that too. It's like I I love any of these games, and I'm gonna wax nostalgic for a minute. Oh, Don's gonna be the old guy again. But I love any of these games that take me back to my childhood. And who of us didn't play with little, Hot Wheels cars and build little tracks and stuff like that? What I think was amazing with Trackcraft is the co-location. So I mean, being able to build the tracks with your friends, that's just insane. So let's see here. Okay, talking more about the room scans. So, yeah, definitely. I'm seeing a lot about the room scans in here, and that is definitely something that I think Meta really needs to nail down. I'm not an Apple user. I'm not a Vision Pro user. I have heard good things though about their spatial mapping. So I would really, really like to Daniel Leeper, I did not have I had jacks and I had like better than I had a can and a string but I never had a hoop and a stick. I don't know. I wasn't rich enough. So let's see here. Ghost Shot. I still play Pistol Whip on the daily. John Wick for life. I love the MR2 stuff, but shooters are my jam until I die. Well, I agree, and I would love to see more people starting to incorporate those shooters into real world, like spatial ops, things like that. So I think we're gonna get there. I think in the next 5 years, we're gonna start seeing scenes like you had in Ready Player One, where people are just running around on sidewalks with a VR headsets or an AR headsets, just running around in malls, like, playing games, shooting each other. It's crazy. So let's see here. Talking more about Trackcraft. So, Dead Cabin MR version is pretty fun. Yes, okay. So that one, if you want like zombies and stuff breaking through your walls and just running all over your space, getting crazy with it, yes, I highly recommend playing the cabin mixed reality. Let's see here. Arlen's talking about full MR games that are tech demos. I believe we need more co located board games, especially classic ones like Monopoly. Again, easy, drop in. I totally agree with this. I mean, any of those types of games. Why do we not have chess, checkers, Monopoly? I mean, Yahtzee. I mean, any of these types of things. I mean, they would be very, very easy for people to just pick up and play. Something that you could like put a headset on grandma, and she's not going to have any friction. Oh, I know how to play this game, and she's just going to jump right into it. So yeah, I totally, totally love that. So and more co-location. I mean, one thing that I love Miracle Pool, and one of the updates I've been desperately waiting for them to bring is co-location. I have two headsets. Me and my wife would love to turn our dining room into a little pool hall in our house. We love shooting pool together. So, yeah, obviously, yeah, you can do it. I mean, you can take the 2 headsets and you can, like, mesh the room together, but having that co-location would just take all of that friction point away and make it so much easier to just drag and drop right in. And, okay, so I'm not saying anything about granny, classic grandma. I'm not talking about any I love my granny, so just saying. She could easily put that headset on and play some, checkers or chess or something like that. So,
Well, I think,
yeah, cat.
we're sorry, I think we're probably ready to move on to, the next
Yeah,
little bit here.
yeah, I think so, and that's what I said. Beck's going to keep us on track today because you guys know I'll just blah 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 the whole show. So, okay. So the next one, we had a really interesting article drop on the site today from Henry Stockdale talking about a new game from Alchemy Labs called Dimensional Double Shift. Now, this game was announced by Alchemy, and it's got private room codes for multiplayer. And what's interesting is it's another hand tracking first title. So very cool that we're starting to see that mindset shift for some developers going after that hand tracked experience as the controller. Now it was sorry, just lost my place here. Developers over at Google owns Alchemy Labs, they're basically trying to make a game that is anti-overcooked. So you basically work together with friends to make meals in VR, but you can totally let your friends do all the work and just sit back and manage them. So it's like I want to be restaurant manager today, I guess. I don't know. So just like a school project or a job, if you ain't gonna be the lazy guy, and it's like, okay, you guys just go do it. I'm just gonna sit over here and just watch you work. So I know that might sound a little maddening in a very different way from Overcooked, but that's what they're going for with this one. So it's interesting. I'm not really up on this. I cannot wait to read more about it, jump in, check out the beta. So Alchemy, obviously, they've always had good stuff. So I cannot wait to see what they're going to bring next. Okay, and just real short on that one. So let's see. Beck, do we have any other comments here that we should address?
People are talking about how old their grandchildren could be based on how old they are.
Oh, okay, right on. Well, as you guys know, I just turned 54 last week, so hopefully won't have any grandchildren for a few more years here, but
Okay.
that is also an interesting discussion.
We got people no coming in about fast reflexes, hand tracking. I love the
Hmm.
haptics from my controller so much that hand tracking is hard for me to get thrilled about. That's from Classic
Hmm.
Grandma.
Yeah, no, and okay, so classic grandma, I got to agree with you there. So when Apple first launched or first started talking about Vision Pro, and they said they were going to take the hand tracking only approach with it and not provide controllers, I'm not gonna lie, I was one of the people out there was super vocal about that, going, "How are you going to pull this off? How are we going to play games with just our hands? We're not going to have haptics. We're not going to have tactile sensation of gripping something in our hands." And I agree with the haptics. I'm starting to kind of change my mind a little bit after recently playing games like we have, you know, sorry. playing games that we have recently seen come out on the store. Sorry, I was getting a little choked up there. That are hand tracking only. So, like Airspace Defender that I played last week. I mean, you are literally just pinching to launch your little missiles, and it felt so intuitive. But I think it really depends on the type of game. So that game, Airspace Defender, you've got this one small little battlefield. Your only goal is just to launch a missile to destroy the other missiles that are incoming, a la Missile Command. So that worked very well with the hand tracking. Something a little more intense, something where you're getting up and moving around the room, things like that. I don't know. I'm still the jury's still out on that one, and I think Ghost Shot here has it nailed. I want
Yeah.
a really cheap pair of gloves to bridge the gap with hand tracking. Just needs a small bit of haptics to make it cool for gamers, just a bit in the hand from the glove itself. And I cannot agree with that more. Where are our VR gloves? Okay. I started VR back in the 90s and actually blew like $400 on this really, really horrible set of VR gloves back then. And, you know, been chasing that dragon for 25 years. Where are my VR gloves? Where are the ability for me to actually feel the resistance? I know it's coming. I know it's out there, but you'd figure that we would have had something like that by now. So let's see here. Looking through comments. And hat tracking is great as an input method. This is Simon Says VR. For just casual browser use using virtual monitors, I rarely play VR games that use hand tracking as a main input type. And I like what you said there as a main input type. I just like it was with locomotion. I was very anti-teleport. I was always all smooth locomotion, but now I like a combination of the two. I actually prefer my locomotion to have both options available to me at all times. With the seamless ability to drop the controllers down and switch to hand tracking on your Quest headsets now, I really would love to see games that start to utilize both. And I think that we will eventually see something like that coming.
Daniel Leeper
S-
has another great line here.
What's he got?
I've never heard a single person say, "I'd like this if I didn't have to hold a controller," and that is a great thing to say. Not a lot of games are worse for having a controller.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I mean, if I want precision, I'm still going to pick up my controllers. I mean, that is the
Hmm.
one thing that hand tracking is seriously lacking in right now is any sort of true precision. And even in the UI, I mean, I do these days tend to put on my Quest 3 and I don't hardly pick up the controllers when I'm using the UI. It has gotten better, but it's still, to me, still trying to pinch to close a browser
Hmm.
window or trying to find those little X's if I'm not to where I can actually just reach forward and touch it.
Yeah.
It still lacks that precision and makes me want to pick up those controllers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Classy Grandma said board games would be sweet with hand tracking, and I think that's a similar thing to what
Mhm.
you're saying. Like the UI, sure, it's easier to use hand tracking. Board games, you don't
Mhm.
really need that feedback in the same way as you do when you're actually playing a game.
Exactly, Beck. Exactly. Yeah. And so like checkers, chess, those would be perfect for those just minute little hand tracking movements that you're going to make, making wild big gestures and trying to do all of that, and in the heat of the moment, in the heat of a battle, that's not something I'm ever going to want. So let's see here.
We have Arlen of the Arc Reactor.
Hello,
We
Arlen.
can we can thank the Nintendo Power Glove for for putting a bad taste in everybody's mouth.
Power glove,
Um,
it's so bad. So
was so bad that no one is ever doing anything. Ross here said though a ring could be useful. Someone
ooh,
said before maybe just something that goes on the palm, so not like a full
okay,
glove. But yeah,
okay.
something that maintains those haptics or some sort of feedback, the tactile features.
So
Yeah, but
interesting
isn't
that they said
limiting.
that. One thing that Ian brought up to me, I think it was a couple of months ago,
Mhm.
actually, that I tested out was a watch app that you can pair to Quest, and you can use it as an air mouse. And I believe it did have a little bit of haptic feedback when I would pinch; it would buzz my watch. So yeah,
That's
just
pretty cool.
anything that's going to give me that feeling. But I think aside from the haptic feedback, I think the other thing is obviously tactile feedback. So, I mean, that's one thing that I also, with these hand tracked experiences, I start missing is the feeling of actually having something in my hand. So, a pistol whip was brought up earlier. One of the things I love in pistol whip is when I'm holding my Quest controllers, it feels like I'm holding guns in my hands. So it kind of is another one of those what I call presence boosters or immersion bumps, by having something that kind of gives me that one to one analog feeling. Recently, I know we reviewed it here on the site. There's a really cool smart bow that you can get. Only works in one game right now, which is Tiny Archers, but it's an actual full size bow for VR. So you literally like fire this thing, and just anything like that gives me that analog of feeling like I'm holding the real world equivalent helps to take me deeper down that rabbit hole. So I don't know how everybody else feels about that, but to me, haptics are one thing, but the actual tactile sensation is what I miss the most.
It's, probably I mean, I don't know the stats on this, but the gimmicks of Duck Hunter, being able to buy the
Hmm.
gun for it, or Guitar Hero, people that had the whole
Yeah,
setups, those were the classiest people because you can play them in other ways, but having that
yeah,
device that analogs that is really important and a fun thing for people, I think.
yeah. No, I agree. Like again, anything that makes me feel like I'm doing it for real takes me deeper down that rabbit hole. So
People are saying that Demio wasn't so good with hand tracking.
I agree. Yeah, and again, it really depends on, I mean, just like anything else, well, some games are going to work better than others. So, I mean,
Mhm.
currently, and it's kind of funny, I will say, and nothing against any studios by any means, but it seems like some of the more tech demo stuff that I'm seeing from some of the more indie developers are is actually pushing those boundaries and is a little tighter than what I'm seeing from other developers. So I don't know. I,
Interesting.
I just I really think that it just depends on how much you refine it. So
One more question from Fast Lawyer. Daniel
mhm.
Lieber and Fast Lawyer and Classy Grandma are really going
Boy,
intense.
they're all over
They're
it.
they're
Thank you so
amazing
much
this
for your thoughtful
conversation.
conversation today, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So from Fast Lawyer, with the Quest 3S release, do you think Steam VR games will have more MR and hand tracking? Because currently there's only one Steam VR game that supports both.
I really hope so. I really would love to see developers coming back to the table and bringing more PC-based experiences and bringing those hand tracking experiences over to Steam VR. Um, I can't say that I know of anything on the horizon personally that is going to use it, but the fact that we now have the ability to use hands when connected to Steam across Virtual Desktop or Link it kind of threw me for a loop. I totally forgot it was in there the other day until I forgot that I didn't have my controllers in my hands, and I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute! My hands just became controllers in Steam." It's like, but I would love to see more of it. I mean, again, I think it's going to be a lot of experimentation over the next 12 to 18, 24 months. But I think in the next couple of years, you're going to see parity on all systems. I mean, we're just going to have hand tracking or controllers. It's going to be your choice.
Onikazi chiming in. Welcome
Hey,
back to the
Yonakazi.
show. Hand tracking is still a seasoning, not the main dish. And I think that's a
Yeah,
lot of what you were talking about here. It's
I,
great to
I really
have,
do.
but it's not really what we want. We just want to have
Not
it
yet.
too.
Yeah, not
Um,
yet.
yeah, Ghost Shot saying VR peripherals will happen, but we need more interest, more of a
Hmm.
call for them.
Yeah, and live
Prob-
capture, I've got to agree. Infinite Insight
mhm.
was good with hand tracking. Again, another example of where hand tracking seems to work really well in some games and it doesn't work in others. So,
I think we can move on.
I think
now
so. I think we're
to
about to hit the last
Marvel.
subject of the day here, which is a little bit of a touchy subject. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I might get a little ranty here in just a minute. And this is just something that kind of like personally took one in the chest for me this week. So rounding out the show today, I think I want to talk about something that, like I said, got under my skin a little bit this week, and that's Marvel Powers United fan project getting shut down or threatened to be shut down by Meta. And it's got a lot of Marvel fans, including me, pretty upset right now. I mean, Marvel VR fans. This was a revival project that was created to resurrect a game from the grips of depreciation. And if you don't know what I mean by depreciation, it is the most it's a really touchy subject with me that if I bought a game, how can you take that away from me? You know, it's like I paid you money for this, and here years later, sure, people might not be playing it, but maybe I am. Maybe my friends still are, you know, and I understand that we can't keep servers running forever and this and that and the other, but it just I don't know, it hurt my heart that they literally went after this fan-made project. Now, if you're not familiar with Powers United, this game was originally released in 2018, and it was a complete hit among Marvel enthusiast VR players. I know a lot of content creators, we were getting together and playing it all the time. It was just fun. I mean, I'm a huge Marvel fan. I wanna be Iron Man. Well, this let me be Iron Man, you know, in VR. Again, not Iron Man. You know, Iron Man's a great game by itself, but I'm just talking about as part of the Avengers, as part of a team. So, you know, back in 2018, well, things were a little different than they are now. But again, I loved playing this game with my dedicated group of friends. It was so fun. And now in 2021, they shut it down. And it was like, well, what are you going to do? You just move on. But many years later, we saw a dedicated group of fans bring the game back. And what happens? Meta slaps them with a cease and desist. And I know why. I mean, and I think the big problem here was as well they were sharing links to the files that you needed to play them. But again, that brings back to depreciation. Why did they even need to share links to those files? I mean, come on. If it was already in my library, if it's out there, I mean, yeah, okay, server space is not, you know, infinite, but come on. I mean, if people still had it, if we already had it, make the game free, let people download the games, and then give the fans their due to keep your beautiful creation living out there for people who want to experience it. And you know, it's like I don't know, it really gets under my skin. The file sharing was definitely the straw that broke the camel's back here. Obviously, there were some messages over in their Discord where they didn't realize that it was going to get as popular as it did, with several YouTube content creators playing the game, with us reporting on it. You know, I mean, obviously that brought it into the light a little bit, which well, if you're going to put something out there like that, well, you need to expect it to be in the light, and then don't you know don't I don't know. I just I think a lot of this is really bringing up the biggest bad taste in my mouth from years ago, which you guys know I'm a huge Star Trek fan. And one of the things that I was just blown away with was that, well, there was a fan recreation back in the day called Stage 9. And if you're not familiar with what Stage 9is, it was a 100% full fan recreation of the Enterprise D that some talented modders and coders who were just dedicated Star Trek fans like myself wanted to be on that ship. And it was perfect. It was beautiful. Okay, I'm sorry. It wasn't perfect. It was really janky, but it was getting there. It had so much potential. And I'm pretty sure, I think Beck's got the video playing behind me. This is a video from my personal channel that we were allowed to show here today, just for context. I got to I got to live, I'm sorry, not envision, I got to live a personal dream. And that is what you're seeing here. I got to walk, physically walk on the bridge of the Enterprise, interact with the LCAR system, take the turbo lift to other decks. It's not in this video that you're seeing behind me. I got to fly a shuttlecraft around the ship. All of this was there, and they were so close. But just like it was with Powers United, the project started getting lots of attention. And well, with that came the eyes of CBS, Paramount. And man, let me tell you, they don't mess around with anyone infringing on their IP. In fact, well, kind of a personal story. The first copyright claim that I ever got on my personal channel was I did a video back in the DK2 days playing Star Trek Elite Force using Vorpix. And because it had the original Voyager intro digitized into the beginning of the video, which was not even the Voyager intro, it was from the game itself, but it used very similar, not the exact, very similar music to the Voyager intro. CBS Paramount had that blocked worldwide. Not one person but myself could ever go to my channel and see that content. Why? Why? It was me showing this beautiful, beautiful way that you could walk on a Borg cube, walk on Voyager, experience those worlds for yourself. But Paramount, God forbid, I didn't even have it monetized. Paramount said, no, you can't show that. So I don't know, rant over. I just, it is what it is, but it's just, I'm scratching my head over why these companies continue to go after these fan projects. So,
People are just
Beck, do
as
we have any?
angry as
I
you.
was gonna say, do we have any, any comments on this?
Yeah,
And sorry
no.
for the rant, guys. I had to get this off my chest today. So,
No, so far everyone's agreeing with you. They're very sad that it's gone. They can only imagine. Ghost Shot says that there was a holotile floor that Disney invented. That was a good step towards holodecks.
yes. Yes. Oh, I can't wait. And yeah, I mean that's been recent that we're starting to see the holotile, and I really do think that that could be the beginning of the holodeck. But God forbid, well, especially Disney because they don't own the franchise. Don't call it the holodeck over there because it's, you might get sued.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's. Do we have any other comments on it, Beck?
Uh, well,
I'm trying to
so
look through here.
some people are trying to figure out exactly what the issue was for releasing this stuff, and then Arlen of Arc Reactor. Why declare war against fans? Why not work with them when
Yes,
these kind of things are discovered?
that is my entire point. It's like, okay, so you as an IP holder, okay, so let's say you're CBS Paramount, or let's take the other vein. Let's say you're Disney, and you have these awesome, I mean, completely awesome fan recreations of these games or these projects, and you're looking at this as the company going, I got one or two paths here. I can shut these people down, or my God, I can negotiate and hire them, and then we can take this and take our IP into different areas that we have never considered before. And why the corporate greed always steps in versus I mean, well, I know why, but that's where it breaks my heart is like there are so many people doing so many great things to these IPs to keep them fresh and alive and out there for newcomers to experience, for people who are in love with them to continue to play. Why would the companies just not roll with that? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I don't think so either. It's a bad move too because if you're popular enough that people are sharing, so what was it? People were
Mhm.
sharing files so that they could continue to play the game?
So right. So yeah, if that's really the issue behind it, Beck, is that there's still a very big issue with piracy in the world,
Mhm.
and we do not condone piracy in any way, shape, or form here at UploadVR. I personally do not condone piracy in any form. Okay, we need to take care of the developers who are giving us these wonderful creations. So do not pirate their games.
Mhm.
But okay, but You have a game that is now completely depreciated. Okay.
Yes.
That game is wiped from the annals of history. You cannot download it. You cannot get it. Why? Then, just like open sourcing software or anything else, just freaking put the files out there so the modders can take it and run with it. You know, I mean, Jesus, if companies need to find a way, monetize it, sell the files. It's like, okay, well, here's this dead game. If you're a coder or a modder and you want to buy these files, sign this agreement, pay us this little licensing fee or whatever. Buy, and I mean little, like little,
Yeah.
so that the indies and the little modders like me can can
Mhm.
can play too. But just find a path, guys. Find a path to work together, and we would see some of the most amazing things. So one thing, and I'll kind of go off into another left field rant for a minute. Disney, Disney, Disney. Where's Tron? Where is my Tron in VR? Okay. Because I mean, we have a couple of worlds here and there in VR chat. Where is my full Tron experience? Okay. This is the most beloved IP in history when it comes to going inside the computer, being on the
Yeah.
game grid.
Yeah.
Why? Okay, so again, on my personal channel, way early, I did Tron 2.0, once again using Vorpix. That one unfortunately didn't get blocked, but I did actually get a nice little poke from Disney's legal department saying that, yeah, they were looking into it and never heard anything back from them. So thank God for that. And that channel that does still exist on my personal channel. But again, where's Tron? Where are all of these perfect for VR IPs? If your company doesn't want to make it, by God, let us make it, because we just want to live in those worlds. I want to live on the Enterprise D bridge. I want to be on the game grid. That is what VR is all about for me.
Yeah,
So,
and there's still a big demand for it. So, two responses to that kind of point, where like, why can't we still just make the stuff? Um,
mhm.
Ghost Shot saying licensing is very messy. Nintendo's killing emulators.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Gaming needs to just toss the whole library on sub-services and bump up the price. It's not too hard, but then all becomes iron is saying, I feel the heartbreak, but for a corporate person who wants to reduce risk, maximize profits, taking on the fan projects is risky, and a ladder
yeah,
climber is not going to take on the headache. That's fair. Um,
yeah. Oh, big time.
Classy grandma, though, just call flat to VR for goodness sake.
Thank you. Boom. I was waiting for somebody to say that.
Yeah.
That's Flat VR. Those guys are my heroes right now. I mean, I kind of tell you, Dr. B, Flat to VR, all of you modders, keep doing what you're doing. You guys, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because
Hmm.
you are bringing us the VR that we want and we need. So,
Um, Classy grandma is saying, I'm getting a crush on you for all of your
oh,
rants. Preach it.
oh, okay.
Where
Well,
is
I,
Tron?
I'm usually not this preachy, guys. I'm sorry. I just, or maybe I should be. I don't know.
Maybe you should be.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe, maybe, maybe today you're getting the real Don for the first time. I don't know.
Matt
So,
Marjanovic, aside from UEVR and other mods, which tend to scare him off, which native VR games, current and upcoming, would you consider to fully take advantage of the higher end PCs like his new 490 rig?
oh, okay. Well, I mean, obviously, well, Subside, the one that we started the show with today. If you haven't checked out the video or the article, just dropped the video this morning on our YouTube channel. So go watch that, and then head over to Upload and check out the article. Subside is definitely going to be one that you want to see in your 4090. Now, you asked for games. I'm going to kind of spit back to what we've been covering for the last couple of months. VR chat worlds. If you're just really looking for something to really test out that 4090, go check out our VR chat world series. Hit up worlds like Aquarius, Far Citizen, any of those, the organism, Complex 7 for sure. Those will definitely test your card. So those come off the top of my head. And then, of course, any of the bigger stuff, like if you're into space games, one that I am wholly enjoying, and I don't know why it took me so long to get into it. Yeah, No Man's Sky. You really want to push the boundaries of your card, fire up No Man's Sky. So, all right,
Cool.
taking a look. Is there Star Trek? Classy Grandma's asking, is there Star Trek in VR chat? Yes, there are. There are quite a few Star Trek worlds. There are Tron worlds. Um, kind of back ending to the Marvel Powers United and other games. And obviously, there's not Marvel Powers United, but another one that we recently saw trying to get revived was Echo Arena. Well, I just my good friend Tribe Grey Wolf took me into VR chat to show me a few worlds the other night and showed me a fully recreated Echo Arena in there for people who were looking to play that again as well. So yeah, I think if you dive around Classy Grandma into the social scene, into VR chat, there are tons of Star Trek things that you can do. Now, I will also shout out, I was talking about just being able to exist on the Enterprise D. There are a lot of newcomers to VR right now who are not completely familiar with SideQuest, and if you're not, I'm going to just take 1 minute to kind of shout out SideQuest. There is a completely alternative store out there that you can download onto your headset or your PC, and part of that is tons of amazing home environments that you can put on your Quest. One of my favorites, Enterprise D Bridge. I sit in Captain Picard's chair. I have all of my, now multi windows that I can put around me in the bridge. It's got a view screen, little star thing going on. You've got the sounds of the ship. So it's very soothing to me. I actually sometimes pipe the Enterprise sounds through my Google pucks throughout my house, just so it sounds like my house is cruising along at warp 2. Uh, so so yeah, definitely go in there and check that out. And Star Trek Bridge Crew, yes. Thank you, Marty Star. So yes, Star Trek Bridge Crew does still work, and I have recently played that in my Quest. So yes, you can still do Star Trek Bridge Crew.
Another one
All
from
right.
Arlen of Arc Reactor. Speaking of flat to VR, if you could have your pick of classic forgotten IP to get fully rebuilt in 6DOF VR. Sorry, I don't know
Okay.
if that is
Oh,
a
well
acronym for
well,
something.
no,
What would
6
you
6 off,
have?
yeah, 6 degrees of freedom. So he's talking about the ability to move in space for, again, people who might not be 100% up
Right, right.
to speed on VR terminology. I'll just quickly 3 DOF is look up, look down, look left, look right, tilt your head, tilt your head. 6DOF is all of that plus move this way, move that way, and being able to go X, Y, and Z and all over the room. So that's the difference. And I've already covered that, Arlen. Yeah, I said it in what I said got shut down by Paramount. I have been begging Team Beef, I have been begging Flat to VR, anybody who can do it to remake the Elite Force from Star Trek series, Elite Force 2. If we could get those remade in full 6 DOF VR, I think I would cry. And because, just like the Enterprise D recreation, if you had the original discs for Star Trek Elite Force 2 came with a supplemental disc called Virtual Voyager. And it was actually called Virtual. I thought that was great, but it was a recreation of the entire Voyager that you could walk around. And I don't remember if it was interactive, but you could at least walk around on the ship and kind of get that sensation of being there. So yeah, and yes, Loco Freeman, those were made by Raven, and unfortunately, the reason that we cannot have those right now is source code. It does require source 7 DOF. It does require that the modders get access to the source code, and unfortunately, those not being UEVR, not going to be able to do UEVR. I know I had talked to Simon Brown, Dr. Beef, several times, and he said that that is one that they have had on their radar, but being that it is in a different engine, it makes it a little different to get it modded without that source code. So I don't know. Fingers perpetually crossed for those particular games being brought to VR through a port, but we will see. So looks like we're coming up on the hour here, Beck. So do
Mhm.
we have anything else do you think we need to address before we wrap things up today?
No, just people being great in the comments, having a look at back and forth on different things.
They
But yeah, I
do,
think that
yes. Oh,
covers most
real
of
quick,
the.
I will say Ghost Shot, yes, they did do an Orville recreation, which is fantastic. And I love the Orville. Oh, come on, bring the new season. I know they're talking about it. I think it was confirmed we are going to get another season of the Orville, but super excited for that. And Galaxy Quest as well. One of my favorite movies of all time.
Mhm.
There's no air here. I love that guy. He's like so.
It's a
All
great
right. Well,
film.
guys, I think that's going to do it for today. We do try to keep this show to about an hour, especially when we don't have my wonderful co host, Ian, here. But I do want to thank Beck for sitting in with us today. Having her voice in the stream was great. So I think that is going to do it today. But before we do go, I did want to thank every one of you guys for coming out to the show today and adding your thoughtful insights to the conversation. I was a little nervous about doing this one by myself today. So thank you for keeping the conversation flowing and keeping it interesting. And, one thing I do always want to say, if you want to help support what we do here on uploadvr.com, be sure to subscribe to our channel here and also become a member over on the site so that we can keep bringing you guys all the best coverage in VR, AR, MR, XR, whatever R pops up next week, we shall see. But we will be next week back. We will be back next week with a big show when Ian and I unpack all of the exciting gaming news coming out of Connect, and then of course be sure to turn into VR Download on Thursdays, where Ian and David are going to discuss all of the best immersive hardware tech news going on in the industry. But until then, have a great week, guys. We'll see you in the next one.